Chat away. And we got a lot to talk about, as always. Always a lot. Let's see. Screen two. Okay. So welcome to Gamma Writing, week 11. So last week I wasn't here because I had to go to Manisa. I presented, talked about culture for some high school students that were doing a program in Manisa from all over the Turkish region, all over Turkey. Um, what were they? It's called Stream It Up. You can look it up on Instagram or something, but Stream. It started with STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. Then they added art to make it STEAM, right? And then they added reading, which made it STREAM. So science, technology, reading, engineering, art, and math. Okay, trying to make great students that are scientists, that are artists. I think it's quite important. Um, so yeah, that's where I was on Thursday. They picked me up from my apartment. They drove me to Manisa. I had 2 lessons with 40 students. Talked about culture. What is culture? The cultural iceberg model. What is surface culture? The things you can see. Deep cultures, the things that you don't see. The behaviors, the traditions, the concepts of beauty, art, religion, things like that. Things you don't see always on the outside. Yeah, and then we had students do some activities, speaking. It was fun. They loved it. Then they started trying to add me on Instagram. All right, it's not the 11th of May. I gotta fix that. Um, yeah, we're going to be talking about your cause and effect essay feedback. Okay, so please watch this video if you guys have any questions about your essays. And this is the final. Okay, so you can't make any changes. I mean, you can fix your essay if you want. Okay, but this is the final grade. Okay, we have a first draft and then the final draft. They call it the second draft. There's no third draft. There's no fourth draft. I'm sorry. It's a process writing thing. Some of you guys, asked a lot of good questions about your first draft and improved it. Others didn't make so many changes. Okay. And something I should have told you or warned you was I didn't make every correction. Okay. And those things that you saw, the highlight that's yellow, okay, some of you ignored it. Okay. I was just trying to get you to think about it, but there was an issue with that word or the sentence. Okay. Sometimes I'll fix your mistakes, let you know. Other times I want you to fix your own mistakes. Okay. This is how you become a better writer, a better critical thinker, a better editor, somebody who can fix and change and correct and make things better. Okay. Because I think it's easy. It's easier to write an essay. It's more difficult to fix it, to edit, to refine it, to make it better, to make it more organized. Okay. And that's why I always say if you have a good plan, if you have a good thesis, if you've looked at the research first, okay, if you see what's like a good, strong argument, then you're going to have less problems, okay? Because fixing a bad essay is really difficult, okay? Sometimes it feels like you have to start over or you throw out like one paragraph, you change it, okay? Sometimes we start writing and we realize we can't make a good argument, there's not enough evidence or we don't believe this or or you can't find articles, okay? So sometimes it's okay to change something, okay? But stick with your goal. I have to talk about some of you. let's get started. All right. So thank you, Shema, for coming today to the makeup class. Okay, and sorry for all the schedule changes. There's gonna be more to come. This is actually week 12. Okay, next week is gonna be okay. Week 14, I have to go to Nevshehir for a conference. But I'll be back on week 15. But we'll still have classes on week 14. Just I have to rush a little bit. And yeah, how's everybody doing? How's the mood? I know this Sunday was a very important day for the history, the future, the everything in this country. I don't like to take sides. It's not my place. I know what I believe in. But you know, politics. It's tricky. And something maybe next year I want to focus on when we'll be in person. You won't be with me, but maybe you'll find me. I want to start something on campus, something like a volunteer organization where we choose what we want to help with. You know, we get you guys kind of motivated. What do I say? I mean, out of every place anytime there's like a big change in a country, it always starts with university students. I don't think I've seen much action from universities. And maybe that's why they sent you home. You know, that's why they started online classes after the earthquake. Just good timing. I don't know. That's a conspiracy theory, but I think students being together, motivating each other, you know, arguing with each other, having a debate, having a discussion, understanding each other, sharing. That's, I think, a really important part about the intellectual and social community of a country. And I think it just kind of fell apart. So, let me know. I don't know. I would love to hear what you guys think. You can write it in your essays. Okay, so I didn't prepare too much, but I want to talk a lot about this. Okay, and I wish that the cause and effect essay was earlier, so I could have given you back these essays earlier than week 12. I'm sorry, should have been last week. But it takes me a long time to get started, and not because I'm lazy, but because. Because I hate grading, okay? I love making assignments. Love making you do things. I love making the instructions, explaining everything. But really, when it comes to grading, that's just it's so painful, guys. You just sit and you read similar essays, okay? But sometimes there's some great ones. Sometimes there's some difficult ones that challenge you as a teacher. To give good feedback that's helpful, but also, okay, remember this is a process, okay, and feedback is meant to help you, okay. I don't know what's happened in the world, but you know, anytime there's like some kind of criticism about something, people get really upset, okay. And I want to mention two words. Let's look at these two words. Okay, there's a difference between these two words. The first word is guilt. Okay, the fact of having committed a specific or implied offensive crime. Guilt is when you do something bad and you feel bad about the action. Okay, and that's fine. It's normal. You're supposed to feel bad sometimes. You know, you make a mistake. Okay, but it was just an action. It's not who you are. It's not what you are. It's not who you'll always be. Okay, that's guilt. Guilt is just feeling bad about the action. You know, you accidentally knock your coffee over and spill it on your friend, and you know, their shirt gets ruined. Are you a bad person? No. Did you do make a mistake? Yes. Is it your fault? No, not really. It just happened to be there. Okay. And you can feel bad. You can tell your friend, I feel bad. And they can say sorry. And you can buy them a new shirt, whatever. Your friend shouldn't be upset with you. You should just, okay, that's life. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. It's just, let them be angry. Let them get over it. Come back. Okay. The next word is shame. Okay. Painful feeling of humiliation or stress caused by the consciousness of wrong or foolish behavior. So this is a little different, actually. Shame is when you feel bad about yourself. Okay. If you made some mistakes on the essay and then you feel bad about those, it's a mistake, right? Maybe you just forgot to do something. It doesn't mean you're a bad writer. It doesn't mean that you're a bad English speaker or language learner. It doesn't mean that you're stupid. It doesn't mean any of those things. All it means is that you made a mistake, okay? And you can fix it. It's not permanent, okay? We call this growth mindset, okay? Growth versus fixed mindset. Look it up, please. And so, yeah, if I give you any feedback on your essay, okay, it's because there's something you didn't follow. There was something in the instructions. Maybe you've never been to class. Maybe you've never watched the video. Maybe you've only written an essay I don't know, years ago, and you think you know how to write an essay. Okay, I'm very serious about essay writing. Okay, I think if you want to be a student, if you want to be successful outside of school, if you want to continue your education, if you want to become go up, in the ranks of a company, you're going to have to be able to write, okay, in Turkish or in English. And a lot of the ideas are similar, okay? How do you introduce a topic, okay? Do you just write one sentence in your introduction and then your thesis? Or do you only just write your thesis statement, okay? Some of you might be able to look at your essay. If we were in the classroom, I would probably give everybody somebody else's essay without the name. I'd print them out, bring them to class, and you guys would look at other people's essays, okay? And because there's no name, hopefully you don't feel shame, but it's good to look at good essays. It's good to look at bad essays and be like, why? Okay? And I'm going to ask some students if I can use, I'm going to ask all of you. I'm going to use some of your essays without your names, not the whole essay, just small little parts as examples, okay? So don't be ashamed, okay? Use it as a learning moment. This is what it means to have a growth mindset, one in which you grow from making mistakes rather than a fixed mindset where you think you're a bad writer and you're always going to be a bad writer, okay? It's your choice, okay? And it's also your, courage. You can always ask for help, okay? Whether it's from your classmates. I know a lot of you don't talk to each other. It's difficult, I know. Or it could be from an adult, another person, or it could be from your teacher, okay? I'm only one person, so it's really hard for me to help everybody. But some of you guys, when you write onto Google Classroom, I reply, okay? It's easy for me. This is why I use Google Classroom. Enough pontificating. Let's take a look at your essay results and try to understand the rubric. Okay, so thank you for your patience with the grading. It always takes me a long time to get started because I have to think about how I want to do this. How do I want to approach it? And I grade. I'm using the same standard. I just grade differently from your other teachers in the past. And probably you'll never ever have a teacher that gives you this much feedback, okay? Something I struggle with. I wonder if all this work is really helping. And I know it does, okay? As long as you put in the work, okay? So I like to be very thorough when it comes to the midterm essay, okay? Because the midterm, the one in the middle, this is where you guys see your mistakes, you see your strengths, and you can work on those. And so some of you who did really well, I'm going to ask you to do better and do more, and not use direct quotations, but try to paraphrase, okay? Because that's now will be your challenge, okay, going forward. Finding good research, okay? And yeah, I'm a little different. I'm asking you for quotations, okay? I think this is the most important part about academic writing. If you're just writing from the top of your head, or you're reading something and you're not telling me where you're getting it from, but you have this amazing essay, I wonder, it makes me suspicious. This is, you know, how do we avoid plagiarism? With citations, okay? By finding evidence and showing that we found evidence from outside. It's not a bad thing. It's not a shameful thing. You don't have to feel guilty about it. You have to put the quotations around it, okay? And I can see that. That's what the Turnitin, the plagiarism checker. It lets me see if something you copied and then you put the citation is actually just word for word, okay? You cannot do that. It's called plagiarism. But it's easy to fix. All you have to do is put the quotation marks, right? Right, Shema? You did it. So yeah, I returned your corrected essays, okay? And I think I gave almost everybody full corrections. I'm not going to do that for the final. I'm going to just talk more about organization, okay? So all the grammar, all the vocabulary, it's really not as important as, did you organize this well? Do you have a good thesis? Do you have a good introduction with a hook or something interesting, like questions? Some students use that. And I like that. I like that this time. Don't always do the same thing, okay? You don't always need to ask questions in the introduction. It can work sometimes. But think about other ways. I think my favorite hook for an introduction is always like a very interesting statistic. Like, did you know? Or 5 out of 10 people forget to use a comma or something. I don't know. Something like interesting, 25% of people don't flush the toilet or something, Not like that. So I gave you your essays, okay? And you can do whatever you want with them. Just don't send them back to me. You're not going to upload them on Egeders again. That was the final. I'm not sure if that was clear, okay? But every essay we write in this class, and usually in most writing classes, you have your first draft where you kind of get some advice. And it's up to you to really understand your essay, to reread it, to figure out what the teacher is trying to tell you, or your peers. Sometimes we do peer review. I don't like peer review, honestly. Sometimes it works, but it takes a lot of training on the students' parts. Okay, and then I gave you this grading rubric that's a PDF. Okay, it has your name on it, and it has all these sections, and each thing you got a point for, or you got no points. Okay, there's 40 points total. And I couldn't give half points because the school system won't let me put half points. So some of you probably deserve 0.5, but 0 was the only thing I could give you. Sorry. But yeah, so work on those things. Seeing those zeros, that should make you focus. It should make you go home tonight and go to your desk and think about these things, okay? Look at all the zeros. Look at the comments that I gave you. I wish I could look at one of these examples, but I can't, okay? Maybe next year I'll use your examples in my writing class, okay? So let's take a look. P.S. I'm going to use some of your work without your names as examples. So I'm going to copy and paste some of those things. Don't be scared. If you are, then you're scared. But don't be scared. Okay, so let's go to this Miro board. I always love making Miro boards. Where is my Miro? It just makes it easy for me to present, Do you guys like Miro boards? Have you used these, Shema? Have you? I'm gonna copy, or do you just come and disappear? Like, who knows? I don't care. No questions. Okay, so this is what I did. Okay, this is the rubric for the classes, for writing class, for all essays in Ege University School of Foreign Language. Okay, the curriculum development unit has created this. Okay, and in the beginning, there are some things that you have to do. Okay, I made these into penalties because they're not really points. Okay, if the word limit is not achieved, 1 point will be deducted. So if you didn't reach that word limit, then I minus 1 point. And nobody had any minus points, okay? And if you didn't do your first draft, then no points, okay? For the process part, I guess that's down here. I didn't take away points for many things, okay? I'll explain. It was actually quite nice. Okay? I don't know if you've gotten an essay back that was like 60%, and then you ask why, and the teacher says, but I like to make sure that you understand why. So there's no questions, okay? You can fight me on something. If I made a mistake, though, if I made a legitimate mistake, I have the original copy still. So if you change something and say, look, Mr. Bob, I did this. No, it's not going to work. I have the original copies before I gave them back to you. So you have your own copy. You can do whatever you want. You can fix it, okay? But you can't get any more points. That's what a final grade is. Okay? And I'm really serious about that one. So no, you cannot, you can fix everything. You can make it 100%. You know, you can maybe ask me if it's 100%, but I'm not going to change your grade. You should, it's good practice. I mean, everybody should. You should fix the things that I asked you to fix. You know, if I made any comments, if you got 100, 3 students had a perfect score. I'm not going to name those students, but let's give them a nice round of applause. Can I press my applause button? Okay, so good job. And it doesn't mean that you have a perfect essay. It means that you follow the guidelines, okay? Does it mean that you can publish your essay in a magazine? Probably not, okay? But what it means is that you follow these guidelines that are here, okay? And I don't like the way they do it. I don't like this arbitrary thesis statement. I give you 4 points, or I give you 3 points, or I give you 2 points, and I don't really explain. And you look at this and you say, thesis has some minor mistakes and it should be developed. Okay? Why does a very good equal a 3? Okay? I think if it's very good, it's perfect. It's okay, you know? So I want to just, my thing is to break this down from what it means to have 4 points for introduction and conclusion. Those are 2 different things, okay? The introduction and the conclusion. I'm not going to give you points, 0 points, even though you have a really good introduction, right? And the body paragraphs. So we have 2 of them this time. I think we'll have more next time. Or maybe we just keep 2. I like 2. It makes it easier for you. It makes it easier for me to grade. I don't think writing 3 paragraphs makes you a better writer. Writing 1 good paragraph makes you a better writer. Writing 2 really good paragraphs makes you a better writer, rather than writing 3 average, paragraphs. So I might keep it at 2 to make this easy for me. So total, it's 10 points, What does that mean? All the body paragraphs are well-developed topic sentences. No, every body paragraph every one of them has to have a concluding sentence, okay? Every one of them has to be clear to the point, blah, 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 okay? Vocabulary, I didn't really take off any points except if you use a lot of I and we, okay? So academic writing, let's get to it later. Sorry. Academic writing, we don't use the first person, okay? It's not like, if you've ever read anything on the internet, it's unless it's a blog, unless it's like somebody's personal story, or unless it's non-academic and informal writing, you never see any the author say, "I think this," because then it becomes about them, me, me, and not the research. Okay, when you make everything third person, which is the best, okay, and all you have to do is change I to people, or many people, most people, some people. You can use one, okay? The ones who do this, the ones who do that, people who do that. Okay, people is probably your best bet for a really good essay that talks about the world in general. Okay, don't say you. You makes it very like self-help. Okay, you should do this, right? If you eat too much fast food, you will get sick. That's like what your doctor says to you. Nobody listens to that. It's called unsolicited advice. It's advice that you don't want. Okay, so try not to use second person. Avoid first person. What's it called? First person. I, we, my, us. Like, don't. You know, this is the actual real difficult thing is being able to generalize to like everybody in the world. Okay, that's like a really difficult thing to do. I get it. You live in your little bubble. You have your little bubble friends. You don't go very far. And so maybe you don't have this perspective of the world. But that's what reading and that's what researching helps you to understand, is to see the world kind of in a bigger way than yourself. Okay, because we have our neighborhoods, we have our community, we have our school that we go to, the route that we take from home to work to wherever. Okay, but research, academic research, and reading, and all of that helps us expand our view. Right, this is the point of being a university student, I hope. Or it's to socialize and meet friends and find a boyfriend, girlfriend. I don't know. These two things, I didn't have an issue with anybody, word limits or feedback. Okay. But this is what I did. So I took this and then I made this. Okay. And it's not that I don't hate math, but this thing, before it was a PDF, was an Excel, so it automatically added up the points for me. If I changed this one, I can show you. Makes my life easier. Let's just say that. Okay. So I gave you guys a PDF so you couldn't change it, but originally what I use is an Excel file. And if I change something, like you didn't write your name, and that's, it changes the score for me. Okay, if I change something here, it changes the score. It makes my life easier. There shouldn't be any issues. I think I double checked enough. So yeah, let's just look at this Excel so we can zoom in a lot. So I took all the stuff about formatting. That was 4 points. Okay, and I just broke them into different categories. If you did not put your name, then -1. It's like back in the face-to-face classroom, if a student gave me a paper without a name, they would get a 0, and I wouldn't ask. And I would say, "You didn't turn in your paper." And they would say, "I did." And I said, "I don't have it." And they say, "Yeah." So it's kind of important, guys. And I know you sent it to me through Egeders and it has your name, but like if the paper, if your work is not important enough that you don't put your name, I don't really think it's important either. Okay. And I made a video explaining how to do this. Okay. How to do Times New Roman 12, how to double space. Okay. And it's also on Google. This is not a new technology. It's not something that just came out last week. Okay. But I'm also aware that, your teachers before, if never helped you with this, that you've never had to use a Word document in your life. And it makes me very disappointed in the education system here. And I would like that to change. So let's pray, let's hope that whatever change happens in this country, the number one thing that will be improved is education. Your lives, my life as a teacher. Okay. All right, I gotta go fast. Double space. Okay, most of you didn't do this. Some of you guys like italicize your entire essay. You know who you are. Why? And it was on the assignment rubric, right? Like if we all look at Google Classroom, which makes me think that you didn't actually read the assignment, you just started writing. And I've learned this from my other classes, from students in ELT at Chukurova University. They have never been given instructions before where they had to read those instructions and then figure it out. Or, I don't know, their teachers did it for them. Something strange, okay? And, I don't know. Oh, I wrote it in the comment. Good job, Bob. To make it clear, I want you to write your essay on this new blank Word document, blah, blah, blah. Right, left alignment. All of it's here, guys. It should have been in there. But, you know, it was in the first draft as well. And I made a video showing you guys how to do this. Okay, copying your phase 2 to 3. Okay. It's not gonna play. But hello, everyone. This is Bob, and I was sick. So if all of your stuff looks like okay, and if you need that, please watch that video. And if you don't watch the video, then it's fine. You missed your points, then you can't say anything. So, you know, I don't really nothing to complain about there. And capitalizations and punctuation. Most of you have gotten better at this. Okay. After the word, there's no space. I'm not shaking you. After the last word in the sentence, there's the punctuation. It could be a comma, it could be a period, it could be a question mark. It could be the exclamation mark. That's considered punctuation. There's no space between those things. I don't know what it's like in Turkish, okay? Because I've never written a Turkish paper. I'm sorry. Maybe I should to understand where you guys are coming from. But, you know, you see a pattern, you see my work, okay? You see my corrections I make on your things. But if you've never written any assignments, done any assignments in my writing, you know, in the Google Classroom or reading, you're not going to learn, okay? And I know, like I know which students didn't do well on this part because I'd never seen you do an assignment and you never got feedback on like what was right or what was wrong. You just assume and you don't ask, okay? I'm being harsh because I want to be, okay? Thesis statement. I'm going to go back to the Miro board. So the thesis statement was worth 4 points as this was, right? And with a thesis statement, I want it to be at the end of the introduction. It has to be one sentence. That's like a thesis statement. Some of you guys wrote 3 sentences. You said, this is the topic. This is one of the reasons. And this is another reason. By now, you know, if you've been working and improving your writing, you should be able to learn how to combine those using conjunctions, you know, ands and ors and buts and because, whatever, right? But all you need is just some simple conjunctions. String those together, and then you'll have one sentence. Why is it important? Because the thesis statement, if I take it out of your paper and I put it on the wall, I should be able to understand what you're writing about, okay, without looking at anything else, okay? And it should exist by itself, so it shouldn't use like pronouns like the cause for it is, okay, what is it? Okay. I know you guys like practice using pronouns. That's great. Okay. You use the real proper noun sometimes, then you use it, then you go back to the proper noun, then you use it, then you, if you're going to finish a sentence or a paragraph, sorry, if you finish a paragraph, finish with the key word. Okay. So if it's the cause of popularity of fast food, write that. Don't be lazy. Okay. And especially in your thesis statement, this is what it means to be clearly written. Okay. Some of you guys had grammatical issues. I didn't take off much for that. If it was so difficult to understand, well, okay. And even though you don't always have to do this, I specifically stated, okay, that you need to use your thesis statement. You need to make the list of the subtopics, okay? So some of the causes are, there are many reasons for the causes, such as 1 and 2. And you did it. Some of you did that. Like I gave you feedback on your first draft and you added it in. Good job. You got 1 point, which 1 point is what? What's the percentage? What is the percentage? Every time you miss 1 point, you lose 2.5%. Okay. Okay, and introduction, conclusion, I don't know why they lump it together. These should be separated, but I gave each of them 2 points because they're both worth 4 points here. Okay, I'm explaining myself so you guys don't call the police on me or tell the dean that Mr. Bob is cheating and doing things the wrong way. You could try, and I don't care because I don't get paid by this university. Okay, nor do I. I have other jobs. Introduction, okay, has a hook or an interesting information. Okay, most of you guys did a really good job with your introduction. It doesn't have to be huge, but some of you guys did a really good job, like kind of building the history. So, like, back in the days, people didn't cook or they cooked for themselves, you know. And then as people went into the workforce, they needed food, you know, quick meals. As mothers started working, as women started working in the business sector, you know, fast food was created to help them work. But nowadays, fast food has become like, you know, an easy meal for everyone, and it's led to many issues. That's a hook, okay? And it's important. It's important to at least give some background information. If you wrote something, I didn't take off points if you didn't write an interesting hook, okay? I don't think every essay needs like, have you ever been to Mars? You know, like, have you ever eaten fast food and felt sick? You know, have you ever, blah, blah, blah. Like, everything doesn't need a hook. That's fine. But this one develops background information. You need that, okay? Some of you guys just started saying there are many reasons for something, and then you just put your thesis statement. And I gave you -1. Sometimes, no, I didn't give anybody -2. I should have. Okay. And some of you just wrote your thesis statement as your introduction, and that does not count. I don't know if you're looking at your essay, if you see this one little line for the introduction, then you start writing your next and your next. In general, most paragraphs are almost always the same length. Okay, almost always. Some are a little bit shorter, some are a little bit longer. But when you start writing, you know, and you start looking at books, if you look at books, nonfiction books, you'll notice that almost every paragraph is pretty much the same. There might be like a really short one at the end or something, but in general, okay. So if you have like one that's this long and then a paragraph that's this long and then another one that's like this long, there's a problem with your organization, okay? And that means like how much information you're putting into each thing. I should talk about the conclusion at the end, but yeah, I will, because I'm actually in the next draft, I'm going to move this to after the body paragraphs, okay? The body paragraphs, each one was worth 5 points, okay? The main thing was is there a topic sentence, okay? And is it related to the thesis statement, okay? So some of you had this issue where you wrote the subtopics as let's use an example. You've made it like ease ease of use. No, was it accessibility? Okay. And then the next, you called it accessibility in the thesis statement. And then you went into your body paragraph and then you called it like variety and something. And I was like, what? Like, you just changed the words, which is fine in the middle of a body paragraph, but your terms don't change. Okay. If you keep changing the name of your essay, if instead of calling it the popularity of fast food, you say, you know, junk food preference for junk food, like all of a sudden I think, what? And I get confused because I'm not a really smart reader. I can't focus. None of us can focus. There's so many distractions in this world. Okay. So it needs to be clear, and it needs to be usually the first sentence in your paragraph. Why? Because it helps me understand what I'm going to read. Okay? Just like all of these reading strategies that we do in the reading class, right? Look at the picture, try to understand. Look at the title, try to understand. Look at the topic sentence for each paragraph, try to understand. Why do we do that? You think it's just like some joke that they do to make you, is it a joke that the school is playing on you to make you sit and do work? No. And when you're learning how to write, the same things that we're doing in the reading class are the opposite. Okay. So when you write a good topic sentence and someone reads it, they understand what's happening. The next one's a good topic sentence, boom. If I'm skimming, which means I'm going quickly through your essay to see if it's going to be a good essay, all I have to do is read parts of your introduction, read the thesis statement, that last sentence in your introduction, and I say, cool, this looks good. And I read your first topic sentence. Maybe I'll read your concluding sentence to make sure that it all matches. Okay, and then I look at the next paragraph's topic sentence, the next concluding sentence. Then I look at your conclusion and I say, okay, this is a good essay. I'm going to read it. Okay. That's why we do these things in the reading class, okay? Looking at the things. I could say in a reading class, let's look at the size of every paragraph, okay? Which paragraph do you think is important? And most people will say something kind of in the middle, in between, If they see a lot of quotations in like a big, long paragraph, sometimes it's not fun to read, so you kind of skip it, right? So these reading strategies that you're doing in the reading class, they're the opposite of what you're doing in the writing class. I mean, they're not opposite. They match. Good writing means that that person who's reading your essay can read it and be like, cool, I get this, this makes sense. It's organized, it's structured, it flows. There's a logical order to everything. This one includes quotations or statistics. That's just like, does it have supporting sentences? Okay. And all of you wrote something. So I don't think I took points away for this at all. It's this one that I took points away for the most. And that's that I've asked you repeatedly, multiple times. And I would say 90-something percent of you did this, which means that you're listening, you're paying attention in class, you're looking maybe at the assignment, but some of you didn't do this, okay? And that means that you needed that citation, okay? Not all of your citations were perfect. I didn't take off points. As long as you showed me that there's a quotation and then some kind of information. Some of you put like a 1 and a 2, and that's not how we do it, but I didn't take any points off, okay? Or I tried not to. Concluding sentences, okay? So this is where most of you got most of the points off, okay? You cannot end a paragraph with just new information. You cannot end a paragraph with a quotation and that little citation parentheses, okay? That's like if I come to your house and I talk, and then I just leave without saying goodbye, okay? It's abrupt. It feels weird to me when I just read new information and then you go into the next idea. Okay, you need to kind of wrap it up. Okay, also these quotations. and I'm not going to force you, but I'm always going to explain to you. You cannot just dump, you know, just drop a quotation and just not explain it, okay? Especially a long one, okay? This just means that you're being lazy, that you just like, you have it. Some of you that did a really good job on your essays, you every time after the quotation, you talked a little bit about it. That is really important, okay? So watch, I don't know, I'm going to ask somebody. Somebody did a really good job with that, explaining the quotations, okay? You know who you are. And then this one was a little trickier for me because I could only give 1 point, but unity was the only thing I really focused on, which means that you have one idea. Some of you started adding new ideas, or some of you, for your like body paragraph 1, you talked about 2 different things in the same thing. So instead of like choosing 2 things, you actually made 2 things into one and then talked about 3 things at the same time. Okay. And that's when a paragraph starts looking really bad. Okay. And somebody did that where they talked about one thing, then the next thing, and they ended with the second thing only. It's hard to explain. I'll find it. I'm going to use it as an example. Basically, all of your work that you do in my class is mine. Just like anything you do for the university. If you ever invent something while you're a university student, the university can take it from you. Did you know that? Okay, so those are the 2 body paragraphs. Okay, some of you did well on one body paragraph, and some of you then didn't do so well in the next one. Some of you had a concluding sentence in one, but not the other. Okay, so if that's the case, perfect. Then you can actually learn from that. We're going to try to practice writing concluding sentences where I give you a paragraph, maybe somebody's real paragraph. You know, most of you don't come to class, so you'll never even know if I used your essay in the class anyways. So, but if you're like really against me doing this, then message me, send me a private message somewhere that says, hey, Mr. Bob, don't use my writing. I won't use your names at all. Don't worry. There's no way anybody can figure out who you are. For vocabulary, I didn't take off any points for vocabulary, except, sorry, I lied, except for academic English, okay? If you guys use like words like gotta, or other things, I say it. If it's only like 1 or 2 or a few, it's not a big deal. I'll explain it here in the comments. But if you use the one thing I would take off points for was cohesion thing. Okay, some of you guys in one paragraph went from the third person to the first person to the second person back to the third person. So you say people do this. You should do this if you want. We need to be able to do this. People should be more careful. Okay, if you read that, I don't know who you're talking to. You know, that's like a really big issue in academic writing. So when you're writing, okay, just like if you're writing a story, you don't switch all of a sudden, you know, unless you're asking yourself a question. And it's like, would you give up love or something? I don't know. No. So try to be consistent. That's what cohesion is. Okay. Try to be consistent with your pronoun use or your subject use. Your subject mainly should be the focus of your essay. Okay. So if we are talking about high school students, then you're just going to say high school students. If you're talking about all people in general or people living in overpopulated cities, that's really specific. Great. Okay. But the best thing to use is people, the people, they, okay? Third person plural. Okay? So I didn't take off those points there, but if it was like really bad, egregious, like lots of it, I took off a point here. Okay? And I didn't really look at anything word usage. Okay, most of you guys did a really good job with this. This is the easy part. Okay, as a teacher, I shouldn't worry about your grammar or your vocabulary. You should be able to look at these things up, use dictionaries, have your Grammarly. Okay, some of you probably need to download Grammarly on your computer for writing your essays. Again, some issues I can't fix. That's the job of your integrated core class with grammar. Okay. And then, yeah, use of English. There was only a few people I took points off, and it was like lots of issues with the writing. Okay. That got in the way of me being able to read it quickly. Okay. And I usually only just took off 1 point or something. So these kind of are like freebies if you guys do the organization, which is more important, I think, in an essay, because you can always fix I could fix your grammar for you, okay? But I can't fix your essay's organization or logic. Okay, there was the 6 points for process if you had the word limit. I didn't take off anything. And I almost took off points from people who didn't make any changes, but I just gave a warning. I didn't think it was fair. So yeah, some of you I gave really specific, feedback to about this thing. Like, for example, I think there's an issue with unity. There's two ideas in this. You're talking about the cause and the effect. And you chose to say, hey, I've done this and I always got a good score. Okay, well, that happened in the past. It's not always going to repeat in the future, okay? Especially in a real academic writing class. You should have a 4-paragraph essay, this student, okay? You should have had 1 paragraph that talked about the cause, then the effect, the cause, then the effect. Then I would have no problems with it. But I only asked you to write 2 paragraphs, so... And I'm not one of those teachers that if you write more, you're going to do better. No. Okay? If you write more and it's more like junk, then you're just giving me junk. Okay? And I'm very aware that some students just write more sometimes to do that. Okay? And some of you actually have really good ideas. You have good research and you want to show it. That's fine. But save it, write it, and then cut it out, Follow the guidelines of a class. If the teacher asks you for 400 words and you give them 800 words, I would give you a 0, or not a 0. I mean, I would take off a lot of points and say, I can't read this. I asked you specifically for 400 words, okay? I'm going to make the guidelines really specific next time for the last final, okay? And hopefully you guys do well. I wish the last final was worth more. That's what usually I would do. I would have made this one 30 points and the next one 50 points. Okay. But your school, I just work here. Okay. If there was any penalties, I took them off here. Okay. Those were included in the thing. Those were all from over here. So anything where, you aren't writing about the actual topic. So this was an issue for me. If your topic was the causes of overpopulation in Turkey, and you want to write all other stuff, that's not allowed. Okay? If your essay is specifically about the causes of the popularity of fast food, I want the body paragraphs to mainly be about the causes. I asked you to include some effects just to kind of balance it out. Those effects are supposed to just go quickly into the conclusion. I can show you good examples of students who just quickly said, even though the food is fast and cheap and convenient, it can lead to health problems like obesity and blah, blah, blah. Therefore, we should be careful about how much fast food we eat. That's all you needed. I didn't want you to write another paragraph. I didn't want you to do more research than you need to. I don't know. I don't understand. Sometimes most of you guys are a little lazy. Some of you are hardworking. But then all of a sudden you don't come to class, but then you want to write, 4 paragraphs or something. Or I don't know, not 4. You want to add more to your essay. I don't understand that. Do what is asked of you. Do it well. Don't overdo. Don't underdo. Okay? This isn't the military, but when you're learning how to write an essay, it's important to be able to write it quickly. Okay. So get the standards before you become, you know, innovative and creative. Okay. Even what's his face? Pablo Picasso. Okay. If you look at his early paintings, he was a really good painter before he started experimenting. Okay. Any artist who is really good at what they do and it makes it look easy and you say, oh, that's easy. It's just a bunch of squares. Those are still really good painters. They know how color, how, brush strokes, how layering works. Okay, there's a lot more to it. A lot of simple people look at things, they say, oh, that's easy, right? Well, you have to master this part. And I love academic writing. I'm not going to lie. It's like a love-hate relationship with it. It's okay. And that's it. And then I gave you overall feedback here. Your score is out of 40. I'm going to post that later. Okay. Today, I'll post it on the Google Classroom. I'll post it on Egedars. Should I post it on Egedars? I don't know what it means if I do. Let's find it. No, I'm not going to post it on Egedars. I'm going to post because I don't want it to be official. I'm going to post it on Google Classroom. Everybody who's my student, who's in my classes, you're on my Google Classroom. Okay, so that was the rubric. We're going to come back and then we're just going to practice some examples of things that how I want you guys to do certain things. Okay, and these aren't like my way. It's from the book. Okay. I don't know where most of your teachers in the past, and I've observed many teachers, okay, they just don't follow the guidelines themselves. Okay, so yeah, I taught at Chukarova University, and I did a writing class. There was another teacher. The other students in the other teacher's class always asked like why they got like a 90% or why they got a 75%. The teacher didn't tell them. Okay, just said read your essay. Okay, I'm a little bit different. Okay, I want you to know what you made a mistake on. I'm not going to give you 75% without telling you why. Okay, and if you are upset by 75%, and you look at my rubric and you say, oh, okay, I get it. In the past, I've had nobody complain about their score, even if they failed, because they saw exactly. But the problem is when you don't know what a concluding sentence is, then you're going to argue with me. Okay. And if you don't know what a good topic sentence is, you're going to argue with me. And if you don't know what a good thesis statement is, you're going to argue with me. So before you come and argue with me about your grades or whatever, tell me what it is and show me that you can write a good thesis statement, and then I'll consider whatever you want to talk about. Okay. But I'm not taking any more changes on your score unless there was a mistake made by me in something. Okay. But if you change something and you say, hey, I changed this, can you give me more points? No. Okay. That's what a final draft is. Okay. The assignment's done. You did your first draft. You made your changes, or you didn't make your changes. So this is the final. Whatever your score is, unless I made a huge calculation mistake. I'm not talking about like a judgment mistake. I'm talking about if I added up the points wrong for some reason. I use Excel for this reason, so nobody can argue with me. Then ask me about it. Okay, but you cannot change your essay and say, "Look, Mr. Bob, I did it. Give me points." No, that's not how life works. Okay, so let's take a break. I'll come back at 2:10. I've been talking straight for an hour. Thanks, Shama, for listening. If you're still there, and I'll see you guys in an hour, or no, in like 6 minutes. Got to take a break. Bye. Bye.